In today's video, we're gonna be discussing about the London system, which is, in my opinion, the best opening that you can pick up as a beginner and skyrocket your chess improvement since day one. One of the main things that I love about the London system as a beginner opening is the fact that you can compare it to trying to learn how to ride a bike. And with that, you're simply using training wheels. The London system offers a solid and straightforward approach that helps beginners get familiar with basic principles like piece development and general opening concepts without getting overwhelmed by hundreds of variations. As a beginner gets experience and confidence, they can eventually move on to more advanced openings, just like a cyclist can remove the training wheels and hop onto more challenging rides. Also, because of the recent game played between Ding Liren and Jan Nepomniachtchi in the World Championship match, it simply shows that the London system is with nothing inferior to any other mainline opening, because Ding was able to win in a pretty must-win situation using this very opening at the highest level. So in today's video, I'm gonna be walking you through 7 model games played against lower rated opponents, highlighting some of the typical mistakes that they make and explaining my thinking process as an international master. So please feel free to use the timestamps from the description, pick what you need, and let's get started. Okay, everybody, getting another white game, and gonna be seeking for a London. We'll get to see the Chigorin. Let's see what kind of Chigorin is gonna be. So it's the 2 knights where we're gonna be playing e3. And depending on what he does with the bishop, so yeah, he's playing with the locked bishop, which is, yeah, definitely gonna be a bit of an inferior approach. And I'm like a huge fan of just letting them take on f4, because even though a lot of beginners really have second thoughts about allowing this double pawns, it's like so nice for us because it's like reinforcing control over the e5 square, just making it so nice to play overall. Yeah, we get knight e5, then I think queen f3 is typical, bring the queen towards h3, creating this pressure against h7. Now we can no longer take because that allows a fork. So it becomes quite uncomfortable for black. And one thing to like really understand about this type of positions, when you have the double pawns, like the key idea for you to get a better position is if you have bishops on the board. So when he's got like this kind of like cock-caged bishop on e6, that's like not doing anything. It's really terrible, and this bishop is just like giving us insane attacking pressure. So it just like kind of runs out of ideas, like giving me free knight because he doesn't know what to do. He's just gonna defend. And is he gonna take on c3? What do you guys think? I have all my money on the fact that he's taking on c3. I can bet my house, my inexistent house, on that he's gonna take. Okay, I would have lost it. Never mind. Well, if he was taking, we are having very little and nice tactic with bishop h7 and then this long queen move. He takes that instead. I think now we can just continue with the attack. Can go g5, but then he maybe wants d5, but then the bishop is like hanging, so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Just gonna go g5, so he doesn't have push, and if he takes, that allows mate. Yeah, now we're just like opening up lines towards his king, getting a forced mate, so this guy is like really making it a little bit easy on us, but hey, this is how a lot of these 1200 rated games are, so just get your plan, develop normally. You're just gonna be better because they play with inferior bishop, so you get free attack in this structure. Really, what won us the game was the fact that we allowed him to take on f4, and then once we get this structure, he just has a very difficult position to play. So remember, go knight e5, and then queen f3, queen h3, followed by g4, g5. Get rid of this knight so you can checkmate. And obviously, like, critical mistake for him in this game was taking on e5 and allowing the fork. However, his position is still like very difficult, already like a +3 with even material. So this means White's attack is very powerful and he simply doesn't have like anything to be happy about with like such a passive bishop. So with that being said, I think we can really move on to the following game. All right, everybody, getting another white game and gonna be attempting another London system. Gonna begin with a knight, and here we have it. Starting position for the London. Is it gonna be knight, copycat, or e6? Seems to be the Chigorin. It's gonna be playing e3. And he can go bishop outside the pawn chain. He can play e6. I think these are the moves that I'm like mainly considering. Anything else? Pretty rare. I was about to say like that's a sideline, but I wasn't really expecting it to happen. So in the course, we recommend the move bishop to e5, and I consider that to be best. And I think I'm just gonna stick with it. Instructive could also be bishop g5, and typical mistake there, they go g5 allowing knight takes. I'll show you that in the post-analysis game. But I think this is best objectively, forcing this kind of ugly f6, and then we can slide back. And now the point is to take back with a pawn, and we're trying to make the argument that a knight is like really misplaced on the edge of the board. So e6 will already kind of fully justify our opening, because then we have a winning move which you can try to spot by pausing the video. Feel free to be my guest if you're like really looking to, let's say, maximize the knowledge out of these videos. You should like really try to pause the videos and try to guess the move, because this is like actively learning. Like watching videos and picking up ideas, it's like fine, but really a big part of your chess improvement relies on active learning, meaning solving problems, doing puzzles, stuff like that. Now, you may be wondering, oh, I've heard that problems are for smart people and genius will avoid problems. Well, cut the bullshit. You gotta solve some problems. It's simply no way around it. Him playing f6, you know what we like to say on f6? Play c4. He does goofy stuff, play c4. You're wondering when to play c4? Here you have it. Hopefully that helps. He takes there. We have a choice between taking one of the pawns. If I go here, hitting the knight, he may just retreat. So I prefer to take this pawn as we can, and then this one remains like still pretty weak and doubled. So it's just a bit about making a healthy choice. And on bishop g4, that's like really tempting me to go for like a cheeky little idea. But he can just drop back the bishop, so it is not really gonna achieve that much, but it's pretty tricky for him to deal with. So I'm just gonna go queen a4. With a point that on bishop d7, I'm gonna go queen b3 and say that we're attacking b7 and we kind of misplaced his bishop. But we're like really inviting him to blunder here, which he did not, of course. Why would he? Why would they like really help us make the content? These guys, they have like only one goal in life, to get out of 1300 and spoil the content. So it is what it is. We're just gonna be taking the free pawn, and we're already having a pretty major frat in the position, in case you smell the idea. So there's actually an idea that could literally checkmate black in 2 moves. I'm not saying we're necessarily gonna go for that, because I feel like they could defend and perhaps we don't have such a great follow-up. But you definitely want to look for tactical motives like d6 and then potentially mating. So on d6, his only move will be e6. Then we kind of commit it with the pawn. But what if we play it anyways? Threatening mate, hoping he plays e6, and then I've got another pretty sexy idea. So the point was to go bishop b5 pinning. And now I'm basically making the argument that he will sort of either take on d6, either way. And now we're basically pinning him so that queen e6 is now a huge threat. Yeah, like just look at it. He just like has simply no sense of danger. There is queen e6. Boom. Like all of a sudden, he's like, wait a minute. He was not really supposed to have that. So we went like a little bit too harsh on this guy. Honestly, it's got a little bit unlucky because we just got for this. We went for this super powerful combo and we managed to get this mating idea in the first place. So okay, first mistake of the game, knight h5. The idea that I wanted to mention was a lot of people just blunder with g5, allowing knight takes, and then this is just a powerful little combo that you want to be aware of. But far more superior is bishop e5, which is analyzed in greater depth in the course, and then we also get to see what to do if they play g6, trying to save the knight. So after f6, they play that, you go c4. That's the rule. So that's the takeaway from this video. And then, yeah, I think the way we played it was pretty straightforward. So we can just move on to the following game. Getting another game, this time against somebody a little bit higher rated. So we're getting to face this kind of 1400 rated opponents, which is kind of equivalent to 1700 in Rapid. And okay, we start the video in like a very good fashion with the London system, and you see them playing h6. That's usually a sign that c4 is a good move. I'm just gonna start with e3 because it's part of the plan anyways, and then we decide. Looks to be playing the Slav, so I'm just gonna continue with c4. Hopefully he combines it with bishop f5 like Slav players would do. He's likely to do, yeah, one of these two moves where you could start with knight c3. Also queen b3 is quite of a nice move order. However, because he does not have the threat of playing bishop d6, I think there's nothing wrong with playing knight c3 in itself. Now the key idea is to go for this early attacking move. And mainly they're gonna do queen b6. Some beginners will play b6, like a lot of them, and just very rarely you see queen c8. But hey, maybe we get to show one of the main traps of this variation. Because on queen c8, he actually needs to be very careful. This could like end really well. And a lot of grandmasters have actually lost in like a pretty convincing fashion here. So after playing dc, it seems like he was aware of the trap, but this move clearly is an indicator of the complete opposite. So be my guest, try to pause the video and try to find what could potentially be wrong with my opponent's last move. Because this is like completely ignoring the fact that we got the rook. So this is why you gotta get your rooks on the open file, kids. Just stop, you know, like do other things in the meantime when... Dude, you got like a rook on the open file, you gotta do that. You should like really feel guilty for not playing these kind of moves. It's like, let's say you're on a diet and you're going to the gym, and you could compare it with like eating a candy bar. This fact of like not putting the rook on the open file. It is that bad. So just gonna castle. Could also jump with 95. I'm gonna do 95, just like very juicy with this. We can square. Yeah, bishop e7, king castle. That's like the easy move. I could try to be ultra annoying, which, hey, you know me. We play the London, so let's not act like we're good guys around. Just gonna like literally take all of his stuff. And move 16, complete disaster, just by playing natural moves. This is why we love the London opening so much. They play the Slav, it's free win. Anything else we lose, but if it's Slav, go c4 queen b3, and it's either those like super nice endgames after c5 takes pawn takes, or we get some kind of trappy line going on the c file. So here is like the perfect example. Just gonna take this pawn, rook c8 does not work as we take. And g5, yeah, just gonna be activating, finishing development with castle, and then we can just try to exchange all the pieces, and the extra rook will hopefully start to tell. I mean, what do I know? Maybe having an extra rook is not that big of a deal anymore. But always queen trade, no matter how good your position is, how strong of a player you are. I don't care whether you're Magnus Carlsen that's watching this video, you gotta be trading queens when you're winning. So, I don't know, you gotta listen to that, buddy. Maybe next time you'll qualify again for a World Championship match. So, besides that, we can continue with moves like c7, go there, pick up the pawn, double up, ultimately trade his rook. And he just has like, there's no instance to get any counterplay while the queens are off. Let's say you go, take pawn, take his rook, maybe in some weird way he gets a perpetual or something like that. That's like really huge. It's gonna impact your win rate so badly in the long run. No, you just win these winning positions by exchanging the queens. Look, he's like not making any moves. He may have just rage quit at this point. So, yeah, I think we can already file a report for stalling. Wait, how do I do that? By the way, guys, if this guy actually left, that's gonna give us an instant win. So hey, at least you you learned something from this video. Now, poor guy might actually be like literally thinking. So I may be a little bit of a bastard for doing it, but I will definitely take the criticism. So please feel free to go ahead and express your feelings in the comments. Of course, I will only allow the positive ones and delete all the hard stuff like any professional YouTuber would. So, yeah, looks like he's genuinely trying to come up with a move. Or maybe he just left the screen. Also a possibility. I think the stalling report only works if you like close the tab or something like this. But, yeah, we'll come back with an update whether this guy decides to make a move or not. All right, everybody, after waiting for 2 minutes like an ultimate prick, I'm just coming back telling you the news. This guy did not make a move, and we do manage to get the win. So, critical mistake of this game, the fact that he has played the move 95, overlooking the pin, and after that, white's position is just completely winning. So, with that being said, we can really move on to the following game. Okay, everybody, getting another white game. Gonna be going for d4. And we do get to see d5. Gonna be starting out with a knight. And we do get to face a very common, if not the most common setup for this rating range. The so-called Chigorin with a knight on c6. And we get a Chigorin with a bishop on f5, meaning that opponent is very likely to play knight b4 on the next move. And if you really want to get the move by move done correctly here, the best line is to play c4 here as showcased in the course, which is a perfect counter to knight b4. This is already losing move because of queen a4 check. And white is crashing, just completely winning. If you're like, let's say even below 1000, so a little bit lower rated than this, like we're currently almost 1300, you will get to face knight b4 like so often. You really want to get this move by move done with c4 because it could genuinely give you 3 wins like that. So against e6 though, and by the way, e3 is less precise because black is gonna get like a better version of knight b4 once you play c4 later. That's also kind of broken down in the course into detail. So c4 is the best way of beginning here. And on e6, you could do knight c3. I think I just like cd5, so we like to define the pawn structure. And then what I really love about this structure is that it is literally the same kind of position that we get as black in the Caro-Kann defense when they go for the exchange variation. So if you're already playing the Caro-Kann and you're like somewhat debating whether you should try out the London system or not, I'm telling you, the London system with the Caro-Kann have like one of the best synergies that I can think of in chess. There's actually like very few openings that give you these sort of typical structures that you can play with sort of both colors. So here we have the Carlsbad structure and just get this kind of like typical plans of going for queenside play with a minority attack. So bishop to b4, e3 is best move. I could also consider starting with this. The only kind of annoying move might be if he's in time to play with knight e4, and then I gotta be a little bit careful not to get the rook trap, but I think that should be okay. Anyways, it's not something we should really bother with, so bishop c3 we're happy to see because it's improving our pawn structure. But it's quite nice also if you can take with the rook on c3. Not gonna lie about that. Opponent plays knight f6. Now, if I go bishop e2, then maybe knight e4 is a bit annoying. So bishop d3 is like a little bit better from that regard. If you go like, by the way, bishop e2, knight e4, rook c1, knight c3 could be an annoying move. Like bc, bishop a3. And exchange is trapped. So typical little idea right there. So that's why bishop d3 is better. And now if he plays knight e4, we can like easily play rook c1. We also have the option of like taking the knight. But the rook c1 is going to be working way better because the rook will have more squares. Like these two will not be taken by the enemy bishop. Expecting them a lot to take. You can generally copy when it comes to developing the light square bishop in this structure against the Chigorin. Once you play c4, you can copy what he does with the bishop. So if let's say his bishop goes to g4, you can develop to e2. If his bishop is on f5, you can go to d3. You can honestly go on to e2 in both cases. It's going to be fine. So bishop e4, this is an interesting move. Yeah, I think it's just not great because we can simply ignore it. Could also play rook c1 if I want to like take with the rook. Yeah, just castling should be fine. And the very next move, rook c1. We're ready to take with the rook. I mean, I don't mind whatever trade he goes for. He won't be able to like stay with the bishop there forever. At least I would assume this. So just kind of like a strange placement for the bishop. Typically, we like to take with the rook and we keep pressure on the open file. Knight b4 already kind of aggressive, double attack, but I think it's a bit of a poor move because it's leaving c7 undefended. Now, what is actually the best way of doing this? So, since the bishop is attacked, we can either take on e4 or retreat to e2. Now, the question is, if we retreat, which is like, by the way, not very standard, so if you already have to retreat, you want to be like double checking because retreating is not ideal. But I think here it's like completely justified since I don't want to take activating his knight, so I prefer this move. And then if he goes knight a2, I have at the very least rook takes on c7. Not to mention we can maybe consider rook b3 and his knight is somewhat trapped. So I think bishop e2 is a nice move, and the point on c6 is that the knight will be lacking squares. So we have a3, only square there, but then bishop can take and we're completely messing up his structure on the queen side. So we actually get to see this on the board and we're literally going to be winning this game. Yeah, just by doing one tempo move, a3, because we placed our pieces better. He's just kind of running auto moves and his position is now like completely ruined strategically. This is one of the things that I really love about the London system. You don't really need to be good at like fancy calculation. By the way, also could have gone for a different way of taking the pawn there with 95. I just wanted to keep it simple. So yeah, what I really love about this opening, if you get good at like placing your pieces on good squares, a lot of the times you can simply win because of that, as you see here, because of like some kind of like a positional advantage. So setting up a trap, by the way, if he plays 97, we have an obvious win, so you can try to pause the video and find it. 97 is like a natural move because it's threatening to get rid of my knight, but rook b8 I would be super skeptical about ideas like this. So he's attacking my pawn on b2. I can defend it like this, or I can defend it with queen c1. I'm gonna go queen c1 because I have a little bit of a trappy continuation in mind. Once again, maybe you can try to go ahead and pause the video, see whether you can spot the idea that I have in mind now. I'm gonna give you a hint. It's connected with those ideas on the rook. But the opponent plays rook b3, so he's no longer allowing that. Yeah, now that my bishop is not doing a lot, I'm considering to, okay, at this point, to like really understand my thinking process. I'm just trying to optimize my pieces. So I see rook is on a good square, knight is on a very good square, queen is like fine, maybe it could be improved like queen c5. Rook is not great, but doesn't have an obvious improving way. Then I think about the bishop. So I see the bishop could go there, creating a very annoying pin. So I think, okay, I do the math. I realize, all right, this is the most tempting because it's weakening his king. Like king safety is the most important concept in the game of chess. That's like, it doesn't really matter if you're like up material. A lot of the times, if your king is weak, you're probably worse. Once again, important to also remember the concept that something is weak only if you can attack it. So if I double up the pawns, that's not enough to win. If I can bring pieces after, this is going to be giving me the winning advantage. So hope that's making it a bit more clear for everyone. And then, yeah, if h6, I can just go ahead and grab. I can also maybe slide back. Probably we just damage the structure. Notice that the bishop on e4 looks very active, but in fact, that's kind of a bit similar to the bishop that Jan Nepomniachtchi had in his game against Ding, where the bishop was nice but not doing that much. So yeah, we're just playing around him on the dark squares. And opponent already like spending quite a significant amount of time, which I mean he definitely has all the rights to, and he should because he's up on the clock. But yeah, he finally plays rook e8, perhaps intending rook e6, which is getting rid of my rook, but that's also gonna be allowing something. So I'm not gonna say what that something is. Hopefully you can try to find it. On rook e6, yeah, there is winning move, rook c8, but I'm thinking, okay, do I just improve here, queen c5? I can like take on f6, damage the structure, and go maybe knight g4. It's kind of like an obvious way of doing things. I think no need to like complicate. Go knight g4, and in case he goes rook e6, the same winning tactic is available. So the point is we have rook c8, and he literally has no way to defend f6. So once we win that, his position is basically going to be collapsing. So here you get to see why king safety is such an important factor in the game of chess. We're literally mainly winning because of that. And yeah, now you get to see these pieces lined up together. Get rook c8, pick up the queen next. Already, this would be an okay moment to resign. However, I wouldn't really recommend you resign necessarily in this type of games. Especially when you have such a massive lead on the clock. So it's very good that he keeps playing. Now, just need to still, kind of the strategy doesn't change even when you win a lot of material. Like short trades are to be prioritized, but you also want to improve your pieces. So I would be thinking to improve my rook somehow if possible. I think that's exactly what I'm going to go for. He's going to go h5, thinking that he's trapping the knight, but then we're going to go for a counter attack. Okay, now important to not get back ranked mated. So I think I'm going to start with a Luft. Just play h3. Ready to play this move next, kind of no matter what he does. And that move is going to be creating a pretty huge threat. So in case you're not sure what that is, hopefully we'll get to see it on the board in case he takes. So the point with rook c7 is that we're trying to go for the attack and the pawn is pinned. So if in case he was not taking, I was about to jump. And after he takes, the rook remains undefended. We get to exploit this little pin. And important that on check there is king there. No moves for black. Now bishop g6 is kind of the only thing to like not get mated instantly, but you can just check him or like do whatever. Yeah, like at this point he's just the first mate. He wants mate in one next, but he's just not in time because we get this typical construction. So ended up being like a pretty clean game strategically speaking. Yeah, for those of you that have a bit of a hard time visualizing why queen a4 is so winning, as explained in the course, they kind of have to go back because the knight is undefended. So the key idea is that the bishop's not covering it because bishop does not move through pawn. And on knight c6, we just have cd5. So he's unable to take with a pawn like he did in the game, which is like a key little detail. Then we have knight c3. And a lot of beginner games could just go like queen d8 and you go d5, simply attacking the pinned piece with a pawn and then winning it. So very basic stuff, very simple. Definitely something you can do. Specifically below 1000, I expect this to happen like quite a lot. And then, yeah, everything was pretty normal. Maybe here we have something a little bit better. I just stick with like the very easy move. Maybe it's better to go for concrete bishop c7. No, bishop e2 actually top line on the engine. So yeah, quite a good find there. And critical mistake was definitely playing c6. And then after a3, he's forced to go back. And then, well, we just win a pawn. And with that, most likely the game. So I think we can just move on to the following game. Getting a new game. Let's see what this opponent has ready for us. A lot of them are just going d4, d5, as you can see. Not that much. Knight f6 on the first move. We do get to see the fianchetto. All right. That is pretty interesting. It's not something very common that you're going to be facing the fianchetto, but hopefully we're going to be able to show some interesting ideas. Plays knight f6. I'm just going to go for like knight e2 or c3. I think both are reasonable. I'm going to start with c3. Idea being on c5, we can perhaps go ahead and take. I think knight e4 is like a bit of a premature attaculation if you want, because I don't know why would you move the knight for the second time in a row in the opening. Because now I'm like happy if he exchanges. I'm just like making positive trades, developing my pieces and getting a small lead in development. And okay, when he plays b6, I think this is like a pretty standard position where taking on e4 is quite appealing, because it's going to be creating a weak pawn that opponent will have a hard time defending for the rest of the game. So I think typically this goes like knight e4, and then can either go knight e2 or perhaps even go for the more aggressive knight g5, which I think it's to be preferred here. Really expecting them to play f5 normally in these type of positions, where I think we can try to make use of this knight, else he may just go h6 g5 with some counterplay. So we want to open up I mean, not open up, but just develop the bishop to this diagonal so we can meet h6 with knight f7 kind of ideas. So yeah, I think this strategy of going knight e4 and then f5 has completely backfired for my opponent, and this is definitely like a typical idea that you really want to keep in mind. And we just managed to get a completely winning position. However, we shall not relax, because this is the first mistake to make. And already we have critical decision on e6 because we can take. But should we take with the bishop or with the knight? Because let's say the first thing I would normally calculate would be taking with the knight, because we're forcing him to give up the bishop pair. But on the other hand, taking with the bishop is interesting because it comes with a concrete threat of playing knight f7. I think that is actually the better move, because mainly if he takes, we take back with the knight, and not only that, we're hitting the queen and the bishop, but also the fork because of the bishop that's putting pressure on c7. So it's like a triple, quadruple threat. I don't know, I lost the count. And that is simply knight c7, pick up the rook. Also tempting option, knight g7, bishop to e5, catching these pieces on the same line. I think that one is just a bit better because I think the knight will escape, so we win a full rook instead of only winning the exchange. Now the knight is hanging. Needs to deal with that first. Then, well, we have a full rook. Can develop and check him. Then the knight can be, let's say, rescued. We're having a pretty juicy flat now. Hopefully we can get in the fork, which will be dealing massive damage to my opponent's already hopeless position. So let's see, he plays queen to d7. At this point, we can start checking, and I think on the next move we have a pretty unpleasant discovery that he may have missed. So let's see. Expecting king onto these squares, and then I was thinking about like knight b6, which is a discovered check, and then we're also attacking the queen. He's forced to play queen e6, but that's of course hopeless because we can just go for the endgame, and we're having a full rook plus a few extra pawns to win the game. So first mistake, knight e4, just go knight bd2, white is better. Second mistake, allowing me to take on e4, creating that weak pawn, and after knight g5, he is already much worse, and f5 is the losing move because of bishop to c4. Big threat knight f7, no way to defend. Move 9, opponent already has a completely hopeless position, so hopefully that's an indicator for the hidden potential behind the London system. And with that being said, we can just move on to the following game. Right, everybody, managed to get another game. Gonna be looking forward to another London, and we already get the information that the opponent is gonna be playing the Chigorin setup. So whenever they play knight on c6 in front of the c-pawn, it is basically gonna be the Chigorin. Definitely combines it with ultra nonsense variation, because the bishop is just really not gonna do much. So whenever the bishop is passive, either like this or restricted by e6, even though you could still play c4 and go for the Carlsbad structure, I think it's just like way better to stick with a simple plan of going for knight d2, bishop d3. Knowing he has played the move f6, you know that always when f6 happens, c4 is interesting. I'm just gonna play with knight d2, however, now that I kind of committed. I'm gonna try to show you the other idea, and with queen d7, this is an indicator that he's willing to long castle. Now the question is, should we already try to get a head start of this race by playing b4, or are we supposed to just play bishop e2, trying to like not scare him from castling, and then should we attack him? So I think definitely both approaches are fine. I'm just gonna go with a4. However, trying to induce a5 and then bishop b5 is gonna be super powerful because he has no way to actually get rid of that bishop. Okay, so far he's ignoring that. I can play b4, sort of continue with this plan. It may end up being useful anyways, even if he does not castle. We just squeeze him on the queen side. That is like fine by me. Plays bishop to d6. Okay, let's slide back. I could also let him take on f4, but he may be interested to play e5, so I think it's nice to have like a little bit of prophylaxis right there. So when e5 happens, we have a little bit more time to react. And h5. This game is like really kind of interesting. So I think it's kind of nice to get to show how to deal with strange plays like this. I mean, just so you know, I have no idea what to do myself, but basically the way to navigate these positions is by trying to kind of avoid the bad move. So a bad move would be h4 because he just takes and we take in the ugly way. So he goes h5. Now we either strike in the center or we push on the queen side. Opening up the center may open up his bishop, so then this is inferior. Just play on the queen side. I see no immediate throwback to that, so just gonna stick with it. Simple. Just try to get rid of the bad options first, and then you'll get to the good moves. It may be a little bit time consuming at first, because we're playing a blitz game, so you may wanna stick with rapid, especially as a beginner, but yeah, I'm sure this is definitely manageable. Now we have an interesting choice of taking or playing a6. I feel like both are fine. But for some reason, my intuition says we should try to really be annoying on this diagonal. I'm not saying we're necessarily gonna get a win, because he is like well defended as you can see. But just gonna try to give him some headaches about something at least. Plays h4, I don't have other move than taking, and now he may be going g4. I can try e4, open up the center with idea on g4 to counterattack, which is not an easy move to find, but I think it's instructive because that's how you deal with an attack on the side. You just strike in the center. Bishop d7 is a clever move by him. If I go e5, he wants to take twice and take with a knight, which is apparently working out quite well for my opponent. I think at this point, castling may be one of the better options, even though it looks very scary for most of the viewers. So I'm just gonna play h3. Just gonna stick with something simpler. I think castling was interesting to enter complications, but okay, now he has only one move, which is, I think, gonna be very dangerous for him to play. Queen d5 loses on the spot to the fork. And on queen f4, we need to protect the knight. So I'm thinking about something like knight back or perhaps queen c2. Definitely got a bunch of options. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna do knight e2 because I like having this pressure over there. And f5 actually blunders the f6 square. So he doesn't really have like a clear way of pushing the pawn, and also he cannot touch the knight because he needs protection. So he castles. Now g3 almost traps the queen. Problem is that he gets queen e3. So how about we use the king as an attacking piece? Is that too crazy? It might be, but hey, I think you will probably really like this idea if it works out. Now that I'm thinking of it, f5, g3 is quite nice. But if he doesn't play f5, I'm still like kind of, my main bet is that he doesn't have a knight move because of this. But now we get to like really get such a nice little queen trap where it's so unusual that that the king does the work, man. It's like a middle game. But the king is taking away the critical square because if my king was on e1, he could have checked. The king is like actually the MVP in this game, and I don't think tricks like takes, bishop b5 will work because the queen still has the same issue. So he probably try to make a mess, but I don't see this working. And I have to say, this guy has played very strange, but definitely a little bit better than I think how somebody would have done on average in his rating range. So 95 may be a bit of a threat by him. I'm just gonna do this move and on 95 king d2, sidestepping this huge fork. In case of e3, we just move. Now we just want to get as many trades as we can. So starting with that, bring the rook, and now time to, okay, queen c2 blunders 94. So shouldn't do that. I'll just continue with the trades. Probably play b5 no matter how he recaps. Bishop d5, maybe c4. Yeah, just c4 hitting the bishop. He's gonna go back and maybe we do king e3 too. Defend the pawn, inviting knight f5 because then I think rook takes is gonna be showing a very nice theme because yeah, we get to restrict his bishop. Look at this bishop, it's like literally having no moves, like the what is this guy like? Bishop has no moves. It's like literally the very first day after you get married, this is how you look like. Bishop on a8, like, you know, not long ago the bishop was kind of healthy, kind of, you know, having options, any squares. All of a sudden, first day, you sign that goddamn thing, and then the bishop look at it. It's like, wife is like, yeah, you can go out, you can go with the boys, hang out, blah, blah, blah. But this is like in reality, what you look like. And to get a better idea of how bad this is, we can win by doing stuff like this. Oh, I may actually have completely bungled this game. In my excitement. But no, he may actually be in a Zugzwang. Oh, okay, this way he's clearly gonna lose. I should have definitely played it a bit more gentle, however. But it's like, look at this bishop. He's got like no squares. It's just like a king and pawn endgame where I have the extra pawn and he has no moves. So I can just push him back like this. There's literally nothing he can do about it. And now he has to give up the bishop or something. Just need to not stalemate. king f7 if he moves. No, actually, yeah, no, I gotta play king f7. If he does anything, yeah, just gonna take and c5. We're like not even, we're just gonna go for the promotion checkmate. So, okay, that was like super unnecessary. To get a point, it was kind of like going a little bit too much with the flow because I think he could have defended better. Yeah, I was actually completely losing at the end if he plays GH. Because then I forgot about the fact that he's gonna be running away with this pawn. This would have been like, could have completely backfired, and of course, like position is completely winning. He could do whatever. Well, good start is king f3, so he doesn't get to push any pawns, and then you just take the stuff, go h4, undermine it. But well, in the end, it played it out as I wanted, so you get to see what a poor bishop looks like. So yeah, main mistake of this game, do not get married. So with that being said, I think we can really move on to the following game. All right, everybody, we do manage to get another white game. Let's see, what are they gonna do against our little London? It may be another copycat or a Chigorin. So yeah, I expect either Chigorin or a copycat. We're gonna play e3, and then it's interesting to see which Chigorin is he gonna go for. Will he play with the locked bishop, or will he go bishop outside the pawn chain? So depending on what he does, we basically have two plans. If Chigorin with two knights, bishop outside the pawn chain, it's about bishop to b5 lines. But first, I like to throw in h3. I'm curious to see what his intentions with the bishop are. So now that he is going for, you know, this kind of like direct continuation, giving us the bishop pair for free, we no longer need any bishop b5 lines. So yeah, seems to be going for like a pretty strange knight before. Here, in case you panic and play bishop d3, that's reasonable. Knight takes, pawn takes. It's leading to an okay structure for us, but it's even slightly better to make this move. So then we can, let's say, get rid of the knight. He accepts going backwards. And then, well, we actually have a few ways of playing this pawn structure. We can go c4, and we're most likely going to be getting back into the Carlsbad. But we could also play with c3, knight d2. However, if you go for the slower play, he may go e6, bishop d6, and ultimately break with e5, and I think be able to sort of equalize. So I prefer going for the Carlsbad here, specifically because we can combine it with knight c3. One of the most common mistakes that I see people making in the London while trying to play the c4 plan is that their knight is already committed to d2 and then they go c4, which is not going to be that effective. You want to go c4 and then knight c3 so that you're putting pressure on d5. King's bishop b4 can start with rook c1, just kind of a nice move to have, so you can take back with the rook in case he goes knight e4, well, like overprotected. That's not really a problem. I can go cd5, trying to define the pawn structure. Just gotta be a little bit careful not to allow moves like knight takes on d5, which could be attacking both. So just gonna go a3 now. Question the bishop, taking with the rook, of course, just like we would normally do in the Caro-Kann. The exchange variation, and yeah, knight e4 hitting it. We just slide back. If dc4, taking with the bishop. Knight a5 is an interesting move, trying to kind of go knight takes on c4, I would assume. I think I'm gonna go for like a bit of a sneaky little move. Like there is definitely cd5, and well, I may very well just stick with a better move, but bishop d3 is like a sneaky approach because knight c4 is a blunder. Hey, I really like the sneaky approach. Like bishop d3, knight c4, bishop e4, just winning a piece in like both cases. So I think somebody that plays knight a5, he's really gonna take on c4 no matter what. Like this guy is super predictable. I'd be shocked if he plays something else. Okay, he does go knight d6, which is, yeah, good for him. Can go for a move like c5. And also go cd because I have a pretty cute little idea in mind, which now that I think about it, perhaps it's not fully working because I was planning to go queen h5 and double attack, but then I realized he may be able to defend with f5. So it means we'll just have to play it a little bit slower, or perhaps go for a different double attack. Yeah, that's kind of like an unlucky position, to be honest. I'm looking on queen c2 and then h6. And then we have ideas of going queen c7. But then maybe rook c8 could be annoying. So how is that line? Like queen d8? Point is rook c1 intermediate move. King d2. And then I think he's forced to take. We take back. He goes knight c4. We can take. No, that's actually working. So yeah, I'm going to do queen c2. It's actually a pretty sneaky double attack that it's very easy to miss. Not to mention I can also take if I feel the need to. And do it the other way. But I think queen c7, rook c8, queen d8 should not be a problem. Because he's going to be forced to take back the queen and we're going to be having enough time to recapture. He doesn't go for the intermediate move and just plays knight c4. Now that makes me wonder whether there is, yeah, like queen c7. I'll have to actually just speed up a little bit because this guy is just not caring about the game at all. He's just playing fast. There is also b4 as a move. Ooh, b4, I think we've got such a sexy idea. Look at this. So we go b4, he goes knight b3, and then white has pretty stunning blow. Or maybe we don't. No, actually we do. I think we have a very cheeky play. If he goes knight b3. He might not. Yeah, he just goes back. On knight b3, I wanted rook c4. I'll show you in the analysis tab. Now we just take on c4 twice. We've got 2 extra pawns. If he plays rook e8, gotta watch out for the thingy on the open file. So just gotta sidestep, preparing to bring rook on the open file. And then at this point, we just want to exchange as many pieces as we can, having the extra 2 pawns. So yeah, now d5, forcing knight d7. Then we're gonna just trade both rooks, kind of. Could also just play d6. May result into the same thing. Yeah, I'm gonna exchange once. If he takes with a knight d6, if he takes with a rook, we trade rooks. We're happy about this type of endgame. Trade rooks and then play e4. Also make sure to bring the king. So no need to rush with trying to queen because he's most likely gonna be able to set up the blockade. But you wanna like, yeah, just gonna make room for the king. Once the king comes over, it's just no counterplay. You may try knight b6 to play for knight c4. Anyways, it's not really gonna make the difference. My king is just gonna be like too strong. However, in this position, I'm gonna push like all the pawns. I can also like infiltrate that way, but now the plan is to just go for e5, f5, e6. And he has literally no way of stopping the pawns. But I gotta rush with it a little because 20 seconds are not a lot. And definitely the fact that we no longer have the 5 seconds increment is getting quite felt, especially after I blundered again. Okay, I think we got a pretty cheeky idea though. I'll try to run this pawn down the board and then we have e6. But it's getting way more double-edged than I initially wanted it to be. But I think we should be Gucci. Pawns are just mating him, it feels. Yeah, d7 next. Then promote with checkmate. So this one got like a little bit dicey at the end, but I hope this idea was like somewhat instructive to like get the passer. So f5 takes and then g5. I'm curious whether computer approves. Okay, so actually this was computer approved. Which, hey, that's some good news. Normally you don't have to like really rely on such move-by-move calculation while being up 2 pawns. Like probably a better way to convert would have been bishop c7 at some point to like restrict the knight. Maybe that's just nonsense. Yeah, I feel like the way we played it was like pretty intuitive. It's just that here we have this a4 move that I simply forgot about because I thought the a3 pawn is just like too irrelevant for this position to matter, just kind of almost as my YouTube channel. So uh yeah, I think we went like a little bit greedy with that. I mean, not greedy, but a bit too aggressive. But hey, I mean, at the end, I'm actually like super happy because this little mistake that I made kind of forced me into finding a brilliant win. So I think this f5 idea with g5 is pretty unique, and it gets to highlight how powerful these two pawns connected, supported by the bishop really are, because then he like literally has no way of stopping it. And critical mistakes of this game. First big mistake was knight a5, just allowing cd5 and bishop c7, which I played bishop d3 just kind of for content, a good move, but I just wanted to let him self-destroy. Play knight d6, which was like reasonable. And then we went queen c2, just a very sneaky double attack that's super easy to miss, so make sure you keep an eye on that. And then here, rook c8 was kind of the candidate that I was talking about, and I was saying now he will be... Oh, king d2 is a blunder. Actually, I'm supposed to go king e2. I just spotted it because the bar just dropped like crazy. He has knight b3. But if you play king e2, he's got like no check. He's like forced to take. And then you do this move. So you see, like even I can miss some pretty easy details there. But like the, let's say, idea of the line was legit. This is the position I was kind of hoping for, while having an extra pawn and the bishop pair. So white is like a +3 or +2.5. So completely winning. So kind of vital mistake was this. And the kind of last bullet that I had was that on knight b3 I was planning rook c4. And it's like not even top 5 moves. I wonder why. Why is that not into the top 5 moves? Oh, wow, this is insane. So the computer finds like a pretty sick blow, kind of exploiting the fact that I was not well developed, so he could be winning back the piece. Yeah, I was perhaps trying to kind of play a little bit too much with this. Anyways, I've got a safe move. It's not like I have to go rook c4. I would have probably played it because I saw this line and I thought, okay, in order to save the knight, he has to go knight a1. But then I thought like king d2. Sorry, king d2. And I was about to win the knight, and then I've got two bishops, two pawns for the rook, which is like absolutely insane. Just crashing. So this is kind of the little idea that I had, but he played knight c6, and then with like the two extra pawns, the conversion is definitely very easy. Make sure you trade rooks, and then critical idea to bring the king. Just don't try to win by pushing d6. You're not gonna make it too far. He's gonna get the knight to d7, get king to e6, set up a blockade, and then you're gonna be really frustrated that it's hard to break. No, don't rush. Bring your king like we did, and well, you should have like a pretty flawless win. So with that being said, I think we can really move on to the following game.